Welcome back, Patriots, to the Ball Brad Show. It is Monday, April 15th, and as always, Joe Biden is still, by far, and not even close, the worst president in American history. Patriots, it's great to be back with you on this fine Monday morning, also known as Tax Day, and we all know how the Democrat Party loves working with the IRS to go after conservatives and Republicans. They did it under Barack Obama's time. They've also done it under Joey's time. What makes you think they're not going to do it again? Make sure you got those bad boys postmarked and in the mail by today. It is tax day. Well, folks, holy lordy. Hell of a weekend, to say the least. At the end of last week, you had intelligence come through that Iran was going to bomb the heck out of Israel in about 48 hours. And you want to know where Joey was? Does anybody want to take a guess? If you picked his bed with the CPAP machine, that is a very good guess, but you are wrong. No, he was on vacation in Delaware. This dude right here has spent more hours and days on vacation than any other sitting president. I mean, at one point, he was at 40% of time on vacation. Insane. So he comes back, they chauffeur him out on a gurney after vacation, and basically ask him, hey, what's going to happen if Iran does this attack on Israel? Like, what do you have to say to Iran? And what I want you guys to do is just hear the seriousness in his voice. I want you to see the perception that he gives of just strength and that you better listen to him. Here he is.
Mr. President, to Iran in this moment.
Don't.
Are American personnel and assets at risk, Mr. President? Mr. President, are American troops at risk as well?
We are devoted to the defense of Israel. We will support Israel. We will help defend Israel, and Iran will not succeed. Thank you very much.
What would trigger a direct U.S.
There he goes.
Sir?
There he goes. Wow, what strength. What strength from Joe Biden. Did you feel it, you guys? Did you feel the seriousness in his voice? Because I'll tell you what, Iran didn't. Iran launched an unprecedented attack. They blew their load on Israel. Don't take it from me. Take it from an ex-CENTCOM chief. Iran's attack was a maximum effort. So General Frank McKenzie said Iran's attack on Israel on Saturday was a maximum effort and not something the country could replicate again. That's how big this attack was, you guys. Let's break it down here. So he was on CBS's News, Face the Nation, and he gave his assessment on the strike. And it included, wild, 185 one-way suicide drones, 110 surface-to-surface missiles, 36 cruise missiles. And he said this was a big attack by Iran. I think this was as close to a maximum effort as they could generate. And I'll illustrate it in this way. Iran has over 3,000 missiles of various types scattered across the country. They have about 100, probably a little more than that, missiles, largely in western Iran, that could target Israel. Based on what the Israelis are saying, I believe they fired most of those weapons at Israel. The Israelis obviously were able to intercept most of them. Iran could not replicate last night's attack even if they had to. Folks, that just shows you how big this attack was and how little everybody cares about Joe Biden's words. Do you want to know why Iran doesn't care? Is one, they don't respect us. That's why they chant death to Israel, death to America, not just on their home soil and parade in the streets, but also in clearly the United States, where you had Palestinian protesters chanting the same thing in Dearwood, Michigan, or Dearborn, Michigan, whatever it's called, on U.S. soil. They don't care about us. Folks, Joe Biden gave the same exact speech, if that's what you want to call it, or answer to the Houthis that were going after our merchant vessels and our military installations that actually killed our own military servicemen and women. He kept going, don't, stop it, don't do that. 127 times before they actually did anything. The Iranians don't care what we have to say. They target us all the time. They're not going to listen to Joe. Joe seems so freaking weak, it's head spinning. And by the way, you should also worry not just about Iran, but also China and Russia, because nobody takes this guy seriously whatsoever. And, it wasn't just Israel that stopped the barrage. In reality, it was all of us coming together as several countries to aid Israel in stopping this. So multiple countries came together to help fend off over 300 drones and missiles launched at Israel from Iran, with the IDF saying roughly 99% of the attack had been thwarted by forces and allies. You had people like France, Jordan, United Kingdom also playing roles in intercepting the attacks, which you love to see a unified effort protecting a country that has its right to sovereignty, but everybody around that country wants to see it obliterated. senior French officials told Fox News Sunday that several of the Iranian projectiles have been intercepted by French forces over Iraq and Jordan. France has ground air defense elements in the region to protect its forces. They were used to neutralize what flew over our rights. Love to see France in the middle of it. Sometimes, a lot of the time rather, we actually see the United States the only one sticking up for Israel. I love to see France. I love to see the UK's Royal Air Force stepping in the Middle East and basically showing the power of united countries on this front. I love it. I don't love the fact that it took place, but I love the fact that we're able to sit there and protect Israel as well as the civilians in that nation. Well, if that didn't blow you away with what took place over the weekend, you also have this news right here where John Kirby defends Biden easing sanctions on Iran. It's almost hard to get out of my mouth, and we'll actually hear John Kirby say it himself. You guys, they're still giving $10 billion to Iran after they just sat there and attacked one of our allies. And I got some people watching the show going, well, technically they're not one of our allies because of the UN Charter and in NATO in paragraph 5 and subsection 3 of Article 25. It says that they're not really one of our allies. They're our allies. It bugs when I have people like that are like, well, technically, because they just want to be right all the time. You know what I mean? Rather than just going, look, they're our allies, whether it says so on paper or not. We all know what they are. Again, they're our friends and our allies. So while they get attacked, we're still just willing to give them $10 billion. So it just shows you how insane the Biden administration is, that they can actually attack not just our military installations, meaning Iran's backing Iranian terrorist proxy groups like the Houthis that kill our service members. They sit there and go after our merchant vessels and our allies' merchant vessels, but also the fact that they go after our military installations and our allies' military installations, and the fact that Iran can literally launch a massive, unprecedented attack from their home soil, and you're still going to give them billions of our hard-earned taxpayer dollars in a country that chants death to America and death to Israel in their streets and does massive parades. You're still going to give them $10 billion to shore up money to go to terrorist proxy groups that will perform heinous attacks around the globe like you saw in Russia. I hand to God, really, if you're a Democrat in here, please explain it to the rest of my viewers and the Bald Brand Army and the Patriots in here, because we can't wrap our head around it. I mean, 81 million of you guys voted for this idiot. Explain to me why you would do something like this. So John Kirby, who's just become a complete knucklehead. I used to have actual hope in this guy. I used to respect this guy. Not anymore. Not even close. So he said and defended repeatedly Joe Biden's decision to relax sanctions enforcement against the Islamic Republic of Iran, which has helped the country earn tens of billions of dollars in oil revenue. Kirby made the remarks during a Sunday interview, which we'll see in just one moment, after the attack. It wasn't like something of, this is old news, I'm digging it back up to bring it up. No, this is old news. He did this after the attack. Bream asked, is it not fair to say, though, there have been moves by this administration that have opened up cash and other opportunities for them, which we know are fungible in ways that are not helping the Iranian people? Well, don't take it from me. We have John Kirby himself right here on Fox News being questioned about this, and here's his answer.
Is it not fair to say, though, that there have been moves by this administration that have opened up cash and other opportunities for them, which we know are fungible in ways that are not helping the Iranian people, but are benefiting the elites and people there who chant death to America and death to Israel?
You and I have had this fungibility argument before. I obviously take a different issue, or take an issue with that characterization. The sanctions relief that has come about, or it's not even sanctions relief, but the additional funds that have been made available to Iran due to a sanctions relief program that the Trump administration put in place, can only be used for humanitarian goods. It doesn't go to the regime. And the idea that the regime was somehow felt like they were freed up to support these proxies because of that, it just doesn't comport with the facts. They had been supporting these proxies for many, many years.
And it comports with their language, though, saying we will use this money in the way that we want to use it.
They can't.
Is it not fair to say, though, that there have...
They can, though, John. They can. Like she mentioned, they literally came out and said, we're going to use this money for whatever we want. And he's saying that we can't. No, they can. And again, why are you sitting there and relieving sanctions and easing sanctions on somebody that just bombed one of our allies to the point where you had multi-front effort from multiple nations to protect Israel, and you're going to sit there and help Iran in revenue processing, which, by the way, you guys, let this one sink in. You have here Iran's enriched uranium stockpiles have boosted under Joe Biden. Oh, yes, you're seeing that correctly. There's Donald Trump in the middle. Man, not much going on there. But gee, right when Joe Biden is elected as president, God, you see that massive spike there in uranium mass in kilograms? Gee, really weird. Really weird on how he wants to still give them $10 billion of your hard-earned money after they just sat there and not just killed 3 American soldiers, attacked our merchant vessels, launched attacks on our military installations, but gee, just attacked one of our allies. And this dude wants to still give them $10 billion just after Barack Obama gave them $1 billion in cash, which we know sat there and supported some sort of terrorism across the globe. And mind you, you guys, even if, just let this sink in, even if they sat there, never attacked our military installations, gone after our merchant vessels, they just got done attacking Russia. And however you feel about Russia, nobody should be sitting there committing those types of heinous crimes against anybody across the globe. But Biden is literally helping Iran as they are going after our allies. I honest to God, you guys, I've tried. I've really tried to understand this. It doesn't make any sense to me. For the love of baby Jesus, it doesn't. And people will still drive out in droves and millions to vote for Joe Biden. Folks, he's saying that they're not shoring up money. I'm telling you right now, in the budget, if you sit there and know that somebody else is going to give you a bunch of money, why would you keep budgeting for certain things knowing that that void is going to be filled by the very thing that somebody else is giving you? And now since that shores up a massive void for you, you could take that other money that was originally going to go towards something else, of which now somebody else is giving you, towards something else like terrorism. And this guy's going to try to sell you that he's not, that they're not going to spend it on other things. They've literally came out and said, yeah, no, we're going to spend it on whatever the hell we want. Screw you guys. And by the way, they already told us, oh, it's frozen. It's frozen. Oh, well, you know, it came from South Korea and then it went to Qatar. And well, Qatar now says they can't touch it. They're not going to spend a dime of it. Turns out came out from Jackie Heinrich of Fox News. Oh, yeah, they are tapping into it. So they lied to us on multiple fronts. And they're going to continue to lie to us. You won't see anything like it, I don't think, from another sitting president. And you got to love how they blame Trump, right? Oh, well, you know, the former president Donald Trump was going to do it. I don't give a shit. Like, yeah, if he was going to do it, I would have said here on the show, if he was president, yeah, bad idea. Not a good call. We didn't have a show when Donald Trump was president. Hopefully he gets in again because we can't take another 4 years of Joe Biden. But it's always astonishing how they try to use Donald Trump doing something as an excuse for them to do something, even though everything that Donald Trump did when he was in his presidency, the Democrats said was terrible, like every single thing. So you got to love the fact of like, oh, well, the southern border is Donald Trump's fault. Rising gas prices are Donald Trump's fault. Raising grocery prices are Donald Trump's fault. COVID's Donald Trump's fault. You know, the attack on Israel is Donald Trump's fault. Everything going on in the Middle East is Donald Trump's fault. Everything is Trump's fault. You know, everything's Putin's fault, Xi Jinping's fault. Hell, the Ayatollah Supreme Leader of Iran's fault. It's everybody's fault other than Joe Biden's. It's astonishing what's taking place here. And, you know, again, never take just my word for it, folks. Biden Treasury Department officials testify any dollar Iran gets in aid will fund violent activities. You have it right here. I mean, their own Treasury Department saying so. So the Treasury Department this week admitted that any funds sent to Iran directly go toward funding violent activities of Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps. You guys, I'm trying to keep my composure. Before it's ever used for their people and humanitarian aid. You just heard John Kirby say something completely different because he's lying to you. Senator Tim Scott is now demanding answers from the Treasury Department, Janet Yellen, who's a knucklehead within herself. She's the lady that we just showed the other day that said inflation wasn't down, even though inflation's at like 3.5, 3.8%. She also told us it's down since Joe Biden's been in office. When Joe Biden came in office, inflation was at 1.4%. It's almost tripled since Joe Biden's office, but they're going to continue to lie to you. She's also the lady that said you're fine financially. You're doing better than ever. So after the deputy secretary testified about Iran's use of humanitarian aid before the U.S. Senate Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee on Tuesday, testified in response to questions from Scott about the fungible nature of so-called humanitarian assistance. What we've seen time and time again from the Iranian regime is that they failed to feed their people and they put the IRGC first. Any dollar they have will go towards violent activity before they deal with their people. Partially why almost none of the humanitarian aid money has been used for humanitarian purposes because they don't care about getting drugs and food to their people. Iran, they've proven that any dollar they get that they have direct access to in the country will be used for the IRGC before it's ever used for their people, which is exactly what Iran just come out and said they were going to do. At least they're being honest with it, and I'm not fans of Iran by any means, but at least they're telling us the truth, which is astonishing because you have a country that chants death to America, death to Israel, wants to see you wiped off the face of the earth. They're telling you more truthful things than the Biden administration is with your money. The Treasury plays a critical role in ensuring the national security of our country, though its toolkit to stop illicit financing and curb the flow of funds that support bad actors. Serious concerns with U.S.-enabled efforts that increase Iran's access to sanction funds that directly support Iran's terrorist proxy throughout the Middle East. We're basically funding terrorism. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. And by the way, I don't see anybody really talking about this. Everybody should be dumbfounded. Whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, Green Party, I don't care who you are. We should all be dumbfounded. The fact that Joe Biden, the dude, this guy right here, so much strength coming from this guy. He doesn't have a clue where he's at. He doesn't know who he is right now. He doesn't even know who he's being asked a question by. How did he get in office? We all know how. Holy crap. I mean, this right here, people ask, Brad, hey, why do you say he's the worst president in American history? Look, I thought Obama was the worst president in American history because he sat there and allowed basically uranium enrichment program to flourish under Iran, even though other people are going to tell you differently. Look at Joe Biden, you guys. You take Iran into account of, if they get their hands on a nuke, there goes Israel. Israel's gone, wiped out the face of the earth. But also they're going to sit there and attack us, do a dirty bomb somewhere, But also you have what's taking place at our southern border with our national security. We've never been this unsafe before as a country. And you don't need to take that from me. That comes from FBI Director Christopher Wray, who we are not fans of here on the show. This dude is saying he's never seen anything like it in his career of law enforcement. He said there's so many red flags and alarms going off. He's never seen it. Mind you, this dude was in law enforcement when 9/11 happened. And we also have Chuck Grassley coming out. You have Lindsey Graham coming out. A bunch of senators saying there's so many red flags that this doesn't even compare to what we saw in 9/11. So thank God Joe Biden's in the hot seat, folks. Thank God Joe Biden's the leader of the free world because he has everything handled. Oh, he's going to take care of it because that's what they keep telling us, you guys. That's what they keep telling us. Well, Rand Paul raises a great question here and one that I really like. So there's one question that should be taken into consideration after Iran's drone and missile attacks on Israel. Paul, which is one of the biggest members of Congress and somebody that I really appreciate here on the show, he said, I think we are very fortunate that it was ineffective and that Israel and U.S. defenses were able to stop 97% of this attack. But I think one question that's not being asked enough this morning, everybody's asking, what is the next step to escalation? There's another question. What is the possibility that we could de-escalate the situation? So Iran's already come out and said, hey, you know what? We're going to sit there and go at Iran for what they just did. And I understand where they're coming from. I do. I don't think they should go after Iran, you guys. I really don't. Look, there's a part of basically playing chess here, almost like the game Risk. Look, you had the October 7th attack take place. Okay, you went into Gaza. You're mowing over it. Okay, we all know what's going on there. You sat there and went after an Iranian leader. You killed the guy. You got what you wanted, and Iran came back and retaliated. But it's still a victory for you. And this is where I think Joe Biden got things right, believe it or not. Joe Biden came out and said, look, take the victory, take the win. You got it. Didn't do any damage to you. They blew their load on you. They may retaliate once again, but I don't think Israel needs to step up their game here and press even forward of going after Iran. So Paul emphasized every action has a reaction. He hearkened back to Iran-backed Hamas launching an attack on Israel in October. Well, I think people ought to take a breath and wait a little bit. In medicine, we're taught to check your own pulse before you check the patient's pulse. And you need to calm down and think with a clear head before we move forward. And I 100% agree. Biden's already said, look, he's not going to come out and support an attack that's on Iran from Israel, which I don't know if I would have come out and said that because now you're being held to it, right? I mean, everybody's calling Joe Biden's bluffs right now. Have you noticed that? Which is scary because you have a massive military right there off the coast of Taiwan. You have Russia dealing with Ukraine. I mean, the amount of times people have called Joe Biden's bluff is in the hundreds. Don't take it from me. Take it from the Houthis. Houthis have called Joe Biden's bluff over 100 times, over 200 times for that matter. Nobody takes the guy seriously. So there could be more funding coming towards Israel. But again, I like the fact that we have all nations supporting one another right now, part of NATO, part of this alliance, and not dealing with Iran. And Iran's not looking good, folks. Iran is not looking good to the rest of the world. They're kind of being isolated now, even by the Arab nations. Well, speaking of terrorism, terrorist proxy groups, folks, Biden admin released an Afghan terrorist into the United States. As I mentioned, that is one of the reasons why he is one of the worst presidents, if not the worst president in American history, because you are so unsafe right now. It is wild. I personally don't want to go to concerts. I personally don't want to go to massive gatherings because there's hundreds of terrorists in the country right now that we know about. You have an illegal alien from Afghanistan who is a member of the Islamic terrorist group, is freely roaming the streets of America after the Biden administration released him into the country after he crossed the southern border. Oh, you're a terrorist, man? Ah, perfect. Come on in. You got a nice place here in the Democrat Party. NBC reported that 48-year-old spent a year roaming the streets of America after border officials released him in 2023. He's on the FBI's National Terrorist Watch List because he is a member of this group here, a political and paramilitary organization the U.S. has designated as a terrorist organization. So rather than deporting the guy saying, get the hell out of here, they just let him in. The terror suspect was arrested last month, but released again by an immigration judge in the Biden administration Department of Justice, who was not told of his terrorist ties. It's head spinning. It's so wild. Nobody's being fired over this, you guys. Nobody. It's amazing that this party, the Democrat Party specifically, when you have a failure of your job, that somehow you get promoted to the highest levels of office. Look at Joe Biden and how bad he is. Kamala Harris, she ran California to the ground. They want to put Gavin Newsom as president of the United States after he ran California into the ground even further. How the hell did you do that after Kamala Harris was there? Nancy Pelosi's ran California to the ground. Look how long she was in Congress. You have Adam Schiff running California to the ground. Look at him. It's astonishing. Karine Jean-Pierre, look at her. She's terrible at her job. She was on MSNBC. She was terrible then. She's terrible now. He paid $12,000 bond and was released and is out on bond, and there was no restrictions on his movements. But don't worry, you guys. The border's secure, according to DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Don't worry. Joe Biden's losing sleep over this, you guys, as he's on the beaches of Delaware. You know, do I think our system can handle another 4 years of Joe Biden? Yes, our system is resilient. Not our defense. There could very well be a terrorist attack any day now. You are way less safe. I mention this because Democrats don't take this into account. They hate Donald Trump so much that they would rather have crime in their cities. They would rather have the looting, the smash and grabs, the theft, the robbery, the arson, which has gone up in all Democrat-ran cities practically. They would rather have that. They'd rather have homeless just run roughshod over their entire streets, just having defecation right in front of their children. They'd rather have people doing drugs right out there in the open as well, on school grounds. Just the violent behavior is running roughshod over every Democrat-ran cities. They'd rather have that. They'd rather have illegal immigration just flourish in this country. They'd rather pay for people's rental assistance that aren't even citizens of this country. They would rather feed them, clothe them, and all those things which you should do to people so they don't sit there and suffer. But rather than just having a system perform in which way it's supposed to perform and have a president execute the laws in the books of which he took an oath of office to do, they would rather just not do anything. And what is it going to take, you guys? I really do think it's going to take a terrorist attack to wake Democrats up, which is sad. You know what we're going to do? Sit there and say, I told you so. But sadly, that's not what you want to tell people after they were just massacred like you saw in Russia or some other thing because they don't want to take their job seriously. It's wild. I told you crime was bad, you guys. Again, I told you crime was bad. It's right here. Crime rate in San Francisco seeks to allow lawsuits against grocery stores fleeing the city as mass corporate exodus continues. You guys, it's not bad enough. And rather than sitting there and taking care of the crime, they're going after the corporations. Let this sink in. Oh. San Francisco has long been feared falling into a doom loop. When we've seen this in other cities as well, it's already happened. When you allow crime to flourish, that increases insurance, businesses get out, you lower the tax revenue that's coming in, and you basically carve out an inner city, is what we've seen in the past. A situation where taxpayers leaving the crime-ridden city, there you go, results in lower tax revenues, leading to cuts in services and rising taxes, making it even less desirable to move in. Folks, when people are gone, they tend not to come back. And by the way, California is so expensive that once you flee, it's almost impossible to come back. You're getting San Francisco being devastated. I don't think San Francisco is going to be able to come back from this, at least maybe not in my lifetime. It can be especially devastating when a community's essential businesses, such as grocery stores, decide to leave. San Francisco experienced this last month with Amazon, the Whole Foods Market Incorporation, shut down its flagship store in a city Folks, only being open for over a year. And why? Because of the crime, citing safety concerns. Well, maybe if you didn't allow people to smash and grab stores and lock them up and didn't have Prop 47 into effect, and also you didn't want to defund the police, maybe you wouldn't have any of this, but Democrats allow this stuff to flourish. So I don't want to hear it from San Francisco residents that vote Democrat every single year complain about this crap. That is the one thing that really irks me, is the very people that vote for these idiots into office sit there and complain about the very nature of those people that are promulgating the ideas of which they voted for, and now it's happening, and now they're complaining about it. How about you don't vote Democrat? How about you don't vote for this type of stuff? How about you get rid of the people that are causing the problem? Not just in the political side of it, but the literal side of it, of actual people, and up the crime and throw them in prison. Well, our prisons are too overpacked. I don't care. Build more prisons then. Build more prisons. Nearly 570 emergency calls were reported from the location in that period. Look, there's only 365 days, including desperate pleas to police saying male with machete is back, and another security guard was assaulted. So wait till we get into it here. Dean Preston, a member of the Board of Supervisors, recently introduced a proposal. It's not a proposal to lock people up for longer periods of time, not removing Prop 47, which is basically a misdemeanor now. If you just steal basically $1,000 or less of something, it's really $950. No. It's none of this stuff of like giving more money to the police, making our city safer, get rid of the homeless, get rid of the crime. No. Introduce a proposal called the Grocery Protection Act, which would require a closing store to provide the city 6 months notice and try to find a replacement supermarket for the location it's vacating. Why would you ever want to even come back to California, let alone San Francisco, knowing that there's rampant crime, you're getting taxes through the roof, because people are fleeing, your taxes are going to only be higher. You have Joe Biden running for re-election that wants to sit there and increase the tax on corporations as it is. So not only are you getting hit on a federal level, but you're also getting hit on a local level and a state level. And by the way, now your insurance is going to go up because you have this massive crime taking place in that area. You have insurance for employees probably going up as well. You have the security element of all these things that we saw REI paying $800,000 in security. And by the way, not only that, but now you have to provide 6 months notice and try to find a replacement supermarket for the location that is vacating. Now, what happens if that doesn't happen? What happens if you don't provide 6 months notice? Are you not allowed to leave? Like, how does this work? So elaborating on his proposal, Preston said, our communities need notice, an opportunity to be heard, and a transition plan when major neighborhood grocery stores plan to shut their doors. How about you idiots think maybe we should solve the crime problem rather than going after the corporations and grocery stores and the business owners for getting the hell out of Dodge? Folks, this is basic economics, just like the first thing you learn in Economics 101. According to the proposal, anyone impacted by a non-complying grocery store could initiate legal proceedings. There's no legal proceedings on the criminals. They get out, no cash bail. You're fine. Go roam the streets. Joe Biden wants terrorists roaming the streets too. Get out of here. It's fine. No, we're gonna sue the grocery stores. We're gonna sue the corporations. You're not making the case for yourself, San Francisco. Who the hell wants to do business there? It's not just grocery stores that have had enough of the city. Well, a country too. Other large businesses that recently closed in their downtown San Francisco include locations like Adidas, AT&T, Nordstrom, and Lego Group. Everybody's getting out of Democrat-ran cities because you guys suck at governing. You want crime. You want homeless. You want illegal immigration. You want to run your area into the ground. And quite frankly, I don't feel that bad anymore for Democrats because they allow this to happen because you idiots keep voting in other Democrats. Now, you're not idiots in regards to everything. You're probably smarter than me on many fronts. But when it comes to putting in people that are going to fix the issue, you don't have a track record that can speak volumes by any means. It is astonishing how you could take the golden state of California and turn it into the brown state of California because people are defecating everywhere. There's crime happening everywhere, and everybody's getting out of Dodge. California is freaking crumbling. And I mean in all seriousness, folks, California can't even account for $24 billion spent on homeless crisis. They failed the audit just like the Pentagon failed the audit. You guys heard me preach about this. Longtime Bald Bradshaw viewers, you've heard me preach about it, how these people are corrupt. How I say, oh, well, Gavin Newsom has his elite friends, right? And they open up a nonprofit. Oh, here's like $1 billion to this. Nothing gets solved. Nothing gets solved. California spent $24 billion on the state's homeless crisis over the past 5 years, but it did not consistently track whether the enormous amount of spending was making a dent in the problem. It wasn't. It's only been exacerbated. It's only been made worse. The audit released Tuesday found California lacks current information on the ongoing costs and outcomes of the homelessness programs. Oh, you're saying there's corruption taking place. Oh, I would have never thought. It's only we've been talking about it for 5 years. It's the same way, you guys, when we were talking about Prop 47. Oh, there's going to be a lot of crime. It's going to get bad. Democrats, no, it's going to be okay. Got equality of outcome. Look at this. The jail, they're impacted. There's discrimination. There's racism taking place. They got to feed their family. It's reparations. California has about 30% of the country's, you guys. The state has 30% of the country's homeless people. And the number continues to rise. A total of about 181,000 people were homeless in California at some point in 2023. It's gotten worse since 2019. Last year's homeless population was a 53% jump. But just throw more money at the problem. No, you're right. Yeah, you have it all figured out, Democrats. You guys have been doing a fabulous job of running the state in this country. Billions of taxpayer dollars were spent on more than 30 homeless. Oh my gosh. And housing programs between 2018 and 2023, yet California could not explain why homelessness did not improve in some cities and some areas, such as San Francisco, Los Angeles, Sacramento, all Democrat ran. San Francisco's downtown has emptied. How does a drug addict shoot up in the broad daylight and tents line the streets? Why does that happen? Because the Democrats allowed it. You guys, Democrats, it sounds like I'm joking. I mean, it sounds like I'm giving like a satirical monologue here. Democrats shored up areas in San Francisco's and these localities in the Democrat-ran areas to allow a free space for these people to shoot up. So much so that aside from giving them drugs, and that was part of the conversation too, I am not kidding, they wanted to give them drugs. They're giving them free syringes and a safe place to shoot up and do drugs. And then they're lining the tents in the streets. Tents are now luxury tents where they have 8+ bedrooms. They have brand new hardware inside. They're stealing electricity from the light lamps, the light lamps on the streets. I'm struggling because it sounds like I'm making this up, but I'm not. There'll be rooms with 8 plasma TVs, $500 plus gaming chairs. Like there's security cameras outside these tents, you guys. There's doors, there's locks. Democrats love this stuff, you guys. If you're a Democrat, explain how you don't. And if you don't, then why do you keep voting in the same people? At least take a gamble on a Republican. I'll fight with you on the Republican if he's not willing to clean it up. I'll get his ass out of office too. At least I have a standard. I'm not continuing to vote in these idiots that are allowing my city that I grew up in to fall apart. The city is restricted from removing tents from the streets unless it can prove it is providing shelter for each person. It's your problem, you guys. Somebody going on the street is now your problem the same way student loans is your problem. Illegal immigration is your problem now. Why is it your problem? Because Democrats want to make it your problem. That's why. In September, Sacramento's top prosecutor sued the city over its homeless encampments, accusing city officials of allowing the homeless population to become a public nuisance. Nothing happened. This report concludes that the state must do more to assess the cost effectiveness of its homeless programs. The audit examined 5 state homeless programs to assess their cost effectiveness and found that 2 housing related programs were likely cost effective. They can't account for any money in the audit. Just lovely. Just lovely. Joe Biden's run this country into the ground. The Democrats are running this country into the ground. Like I said, people are still vote Democrat. If you didn't see our yesterday's video, our Sunday episode, I did an episode on how very likely Trump could lose the election in a legitimate election, aside from the ballot harvesting and the universal mail-in ballots, just based on the 7 states of Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and North Carolina. If Joe Biden wins, I think 6 of 7 of those states in the same way that he did when he won the 2020 election, Donald Trump loses. And because it's such a very slim margin in all 7 of those states, Trump could very well lose, you guys. I implore you to go check out that episode. It's like 7 minutes. I think you'd be doing yourself justice to kind of see on how it's broken out. And I kind of correlate the 2024 election with 2020 and give you kind of the nuances of what I think is going to happen. So I'll try to leave a clip tag above here. I think it'll actually be over there if you want to check it out. If not, just click on yesterday's video and you'll be there. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. A little bit shorter today, but damn, wild weekend. It is tax day. Make sure your taxes get in. We'll see what happens with Iran and Israel, as well as what's going on with Hamas over there in the Gaza Strip. I mean, Jesus, you got so much stuff taking. It's wild what's going on here. So, curious question of the day: what do you think's going to happen with this Iran humanitarian aid? Do you think Joe Biden's going to continually just allow this stuff to be given to them? I don't know why. I don't even know why he would do it. I don't know, but head spinning, folks. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time here on the Bull Brad Show.